Ashley, hi, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. I'm so excited. So, everybody, this is the first of hopefully a series where I am taking some really cool business owners and I'm going to take them from having kind of an idea, maybe a messy idea, or maybe no idea at all for a book. And we're going to get super clear on their book. I do these typically in Voxer or Telegram, but we're going to do them here for you on video so that you can see how the process works. I think it's going to be really fun, and I think it's going to come out with a really great book idea that I hope all of you will be hounding Ashley to read here shortly. So before we get started, Ashley, just tell everybody where they can follow you because after they hear about your book, they're definitely going to want to read it and hear more about what you do.
Yeah, so I'm Ashley. I'm on Instagram at Ashley Rachel Copy Coach. I'm a copy and messaging expert. I help women with their high ticket messaging.
Awesome. Let's get a little deeper than that because I know that you niche down a little bit. So tell me, who are your favorite people to work with and what kind of transformations do you like to bring for them?
Yeah, so I really love working with women who are healers. I tend to attract a lot of past therapists who have like transitioned into the coaching space, or women who do like deep subconscious reprogramming or who do spiritual work. Although I work with all kinds of different coaches, I've worked with like financial coaches, health coaches, relationship coaches. Um, and I tend to attract a lot of women who have built successful in-person businesses like yoga studios or therapy agencies or bodywork practices. And then they're like craving more freedom. They come to the online space and they have like years of expertise, years of experience doing their healing work, working with their clients, but like creating social media content is newer, like maybe within the last couple years for them. And so they're coming in with like a lot of knowledge and experience, wanting more freedom through like selling more like virtual one-on-one and group programs and things like that. But they feel stuck around how do I talk about what I do? Because they're not usually thinking about marketing. And it's two different skill sets, right? To like market versus to be a really good coach. And so they tend to feel stuck around like, how do I describe my work? How do I talk about what I do? Or they're like already an established coach and they want to speak to like a higher level client. Basically, my zone of genius is like helping them to put words to what they do in a way that is going to like really resonate with their ideal client. Um, and so I think one big distinction is that I work with women who already have a lot of experience because one of the things that we do is we draw on a lot of like what has already happened in sessions, who they've loved working with, who they haven't, looking at their clients who have gotten the best results. And so for that reason, I don't typically work with people who are brand new, just trying to figure out what they're good at. I work with people who already have like years of experience, but maybe it's just like putting it into words in a way that sells is like newer territory and they want to get better at it.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. And how do you see that this is different from how other copy coaches might do it?
Yeah.
Or
Uh,
do you have tell me about the methods you use, the frameworks you use. Tell me how Ashley works differently.
yeah. Well, I guess this also kind of brings me to like another question that I'm thinking about in
Yeah.
terms of my book, which is like, I don't know how broad or specific I want to go. I know that like ultimately one of the goals of the book is to sign clients. And so it makes sense that I write about, the specific work that I do. But also, I feel like I have like broader messages. Like, I think what I do is very specific and it's not for everybody.
Mhm.
And so I just have a big question mark in my mind around like, for my book, how wide do I want to go? Because I have lots of stories that are connected to the work that I do, but also connected to like years back. Like, I have like broader things that I would love to write about and share about that I think would resonate more with the masses. And so that's just a question mark in my mind. I guess I don't know if there's a question there, but it's for you specifically, but it's just like how broad do I want to go, or do I want to really like keep specific with exactly what I do in my high ticket programs?
Okay, perfect. So that's actually two questions, and we were going to get there eventually. So let's just dive in right now. Right now. So the first one, this will probably be a quicker answer for you. So you mentioned you know that one of the goals is to sign more high ticket clients. What other goals do you have for your book? What doors do you want it to open for you in an ideal world?
Okay, good question. So definitely clients, more aligned followers, more people in my courses and other programs, maybe speaking opportunities. I think also I see myself like writing probably multiple books. And I do think it would be really cool to make money from the book itself, but I know that we talked about that's not always where the money comes from or like needs to be the main goal, but I do think that that would be just fun. And maybe one other goal, I kind of go back and forth between like, do I want to reach a lot of people? Do I want to like impact a lot of people? Or do I want to reach, smaller numbers of people and then, work with them more deeply? I think obviously when I do like one-on-one, that's working with people deeply, but I do think that there's an opportunity with the book to like impact more people. And so hearing from people, getting messages, I think would be like the most meaningful thing of people saying like that really was helpful, that touched me, like those kinds of thank you messages, knowing that I'm making a difference on a bigger scale. I think that would be really cool. And just to know that I have a book that's like, um, just like a great lead magnet so that when people first find me, it's just something that they can really get like the whole picture of who I am and what I do and what I'm all about. So that I don't have to like work so hard, I think, with like lead magnets and things like that, knowing that the book, like once it's done, it's like there and I can keep using it.
Yeah, and the book should do all of those things. And you mentioned you want to make money from the book itself. That's totally something we can do. I just caution people to make that their first priority
Yeah.
because it'll take a lot more work to make that as much income as getting more high ticket clients from it, getting signed as keynote speakers,
Yeah.
even just like residuals from thought leadership and things like that. So when I hear all this, it sounds like you want to do everything. And I love that. You want the book to do everything for you, but you also said you want to write more than one book. And so that opens up some new opportunities and pathways because when we look at the question of do you go broad or do you go narrow, well, you could do both if you thought
Right.
that you might have multiple books in you and you thought that's something you wanted to do. So let's look at the two scenarios. If you go more broad, that opens up a lot more opportunity for thought leadership, um, speaking, and then just growing your audience quickly. They may not all be perfect fit audience because they're going to be bringing in a lot of people,
Right.
but they could still be people who, if they're not, the kind of people who would want to work with you one-on-one, or they're not healers, perhaps they might still get value from you and think, this is great. And maybe I'll buy, one of her courses, or maybe I'll just recommend her to her friends. So it's not a bad thing to bring in people who are not exactly aligned, as long as you do it consciously and not as an accident, because that's how you end up with like one-star reviews, which we don't want. So we want to make sure we know who we're bringing in on purpose.
Right.
Um, and then if you go more niche, then you bring in, of course, more very specifically aligned people. And that helps you develop a book that is geared more towards signing those clients and selling courses more passively. Does
Yeah.
that make sense?
Yes, it does. And I feel like I don't know my answer yet. Um, but I'll just keep thinking about it.
Okay, well, we'll figure out that answer.
Yeah.
So then let's talk briefly about your book ideas that you have so far. And you probably have a couple, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I mean, I have been writing online for like 6 years. And so I have a lot to say. I have a lot of messages that I've shared over the years and different things that have really like resonated. And so I guess like my more specific idea would be just to write about like the very specific work that I do with my clients. Um, and to write about my methods with messaging. And I have this method that I call the known method, which is about becoming well known for what you do. And it's about teaching women to like pick one thing that they want to become known for, but do it in a way that doesn't necessarily box them in. Like you can only talk about that one thing, but allows them to become like to be memorable in people's mind, so that when they introduce themselves at a networking event, people are like, oh, that's what I need. Or like when other people are talking about them in rooms that they're not in, because what they do is specific and memorable, other people refer people to them and talk about them. And so it's a way to become more well known for what you do and more well paid. And so I have that method that I could write about. And so it would be like a mix between I tend to get into the nitty-gritty details. So I have a lot of like very specific methods around here's how to write a good hook. Here's how to write a good call to action. Like I have very specific like frameworks. So I could teach some of those. And then I also have like just stories from my life, from my clients' lives, like case study kind of things as well. I also feel like I'm sort of still drilling into like the exact method. I feel like I have a lot of methods and frameworks, but I'm still sort of like crafting it. But I also know that through writing about it, it's like going to become more clear.
Yeah.
So I could write about all of that. And then I guess like to give you an example of like the a broader message that I might write a book about. I might write a book about just the idea of this is more mindset, but just the idea that like if other people can achieve what you want, like why not you? And I have some really great stories from my own life of this. And it's interesting because I had one reel go viral once. Like I don't aim for my content to go viral at all ever because I sell high ticket. I don't need it to go viral. But I had a reel go viral once and it had nothing to do with my business, but it was a story about how I sang the national anthem at Fenway Park when I was 18. Yeah, in front of like 40,000 people.
Oh my
And
gosh, hidden talents.
yeah, and the way that that came about was that I had won a scholarship for college from the Red Sox Foundation. And when I emailed them to say thank you so much for picking me for the scholarship, they also sent me 2 tickets to a game. And I just casually threw it out there, like, if you don't have anybody to sing at that game, I would love to. And they're like, oh, like send us an audition video. And then I did, and they said that I could do it. And I was like, oh my gosh. And it was because I had always had that idea in me of like, if other people could do it, why not me? And so I feel like I have a lot of different stories of that, including related to my business. And so that would be like more of a broad message. Like it went viral, people loved it, people were so inspired by it. I think it's a powerful message to remind people like that just the idea that we have one life and but that's more of a broad message. It's related. I have stories within what I do, but it's not like my method that people like, pay me $10,000 for.
Okay, just off the bat, I think that's the second or third book, not the first book, but I love
Yeah.
that book. And also, you could reframe that around like so you mentioned like here's how to write a hook for social media or something. You could reframe a book that's very niche about that kind of topic, like how to go viral if you wanted to write a book about that, or how to just write content that sticks around that story. So you could actually take that story and turn it into a very niche concept or a very broad concept. I like, though, for you starting with the known method
Yeah.
because one of the questions I always ask is, what do you want to be known for? And being known for the known method makes a lot of sense. And it is one that is a broader topic. It's going to appeal to more people who are outside your very specific audience, but still people who could relate to you, who could find value from you, who would enjoy the book, pass the book on. I mean, think of how many books you read that you're not the specific audience that they write it for, but you still get value from it. That would be a good one. That's a broader one though, but it could set you up for both the clients, the thought leadership courses, really all of them, aligned followers too, although you would definitely get more aligned followers if you're talking about a very, very specific thing like writing social media content for healers, for example, as a book. But I think the followers you would get from it would still be aligned.
I guess one question I have for you is like when you're thinking about a book idea, well, okay, I'll back up. When I'm thinking about like my message and my content, I'm usually reverse engineering from like what's the main problem that my ideal client is struggling with, or
Mhm.
like what's their main desire. And so I'm just curious, like what your thought process is. Is it similar to that when you're thinking about it? Like, are you choosing like here's an argument, and this book is like wrapped around like this argument and trying to maybe like I don't know if persuade is the right word, but like trying to get people to get on board with your way of thinking? Is it like let me pick a specific problem and write a book about it? Like what is the best way to think about it?
That's interesting. So I do work backwards. I work backwards from your goals and who you're already speaking to. But it's interesting that you said argument because I wouldn't call it an argument.
Yeah.
And I do think books need a hot take within them, but it is not necessarily like coming from an argumentative point of view, more like a promise, like listen to this, apply it, and just wait and see. It's going to work rather than let me convince you.
Yeah.
Because I believe that the way we write the book should do the convincing without having to have an argument. And I'm sure that you did not mean argument in like a we're fighting about it in YouTube comment section sort of
No.
thing, but I just wanted to make it clear that it should feel like a natural transformation for them. Even if they pick up the book and they're not on board at all, they should be able to be on board by the end.
Yes. Okay. Makes sense.
So how does that land for you so far?
I feel like it makes sense to start with writing a book about my method and like speaking to this problem specifically. I think the way that it shows up for people is like I do such deep healing work that it's like so complex, it's so layered. They like know so much that they're like I don't know how to talk about it or like succinctly talk about it or like know what I guess it's almost like the problem I feel like I'm having right now with the book, which is so funny, but it's like how do I take all of this stuff that I'm good at and know and then like package it up in a way that people like really understand it and it's not going over their head or it's not too deep or I'm not talking about the parts that they don't care about. I'm talking about the things that they care about so that they pay me. So yeah, I think it makes sense to write a book about like helping solve that problem of articulating what you do when you know you're really good at it, when you have lots of experience to draw from, and then teaching my method.
Yeah, and you said a couple of really important things there, saying enough so that they want to pay you and not too much that they're like, this isn't for me. So people do tend to get hung up on like what goes in the book, what doesn't go in the book, what do I save for my program so the book doesn't cannibalize it, things like that. And so then I would say if you think that going with the known method first is the right path, then let's drill down and let's see what is this book really about and what are we promising your reader? Because at the end of the day, you are promising them something. That is the book. So you can even think about the subtitle as the promise. And in many cases, some variation of your book's promise will end up as the subtitle. So, and this is just like me coming up with something totally off the top of my head that has, and I don't know your business as well as you do, so it's going to be wrong, but something like the known method, how to get known as, and I don't know if I would say healer. You might say healer. Let's play with that as a healer in the online space, or how to get known as blah, 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 or how to get known for your healing methodology. So we're getting specific and teaching them one thing based on the known method.
Okay, so I actually have a course that I created called Known, and my tagline is the six-figure messaging strategy for leaders desiring high-ticket clients on repeat and a way to stand out in their industry for years to come.
I love it, but we don't want to cannibalize your course.
Right.
So then we need to kind of step back. So in a book, there's kind of three layers of things that you could include in the book. So there's the foundational layer of what you do, and that's things like core concepts, philosophy, terminology use, principles, just things around that, like the problem you solve and like how you think about it differently. So it's more abstract, but if you step back from how the known method works, then the core concept is what makes it work. And that is, well, you tell me. I don't want to put words in your mouth. So what makes it work?
So I guess one way that I'm doing it differently is a lot of people teach content pillars. So sometimes when
Mhm.
people come to work with me, they're like, these are my three topics. And I don't teach it that way at all. I'm like, no, we need to scrap that. And so oh gosh, there's so much I want to say. I'm like, there's just so many ideas
You
coming
can
up.
just verbally process. It's okay.
Okay. So I teach this analogy that I call like the storefront window theory, where it's this idea that in we all live in coach land and there's like this main street and every day people are walking down the main street and they're looking around at the different stores and thinking about which store do I want to go shop in. And the idea is that your messaging is like your storefront window. And if what's in the window isn't compelling or clear, then your ideal client is going to walk by your store. And what I see a lot is that what is in people's store is like everything. They try to put the entire store, what's in the back of the store to the front of the store, right? And so then people are walking by and it's like clutter. It's like a thrift store. People are like not, they don't know what's over there. It's intimidating or it just doesn't look like their style and they keep walking. And so the idea is that we just need to pull out the pieces from their store that need to go in the window. And by doing this, we're not taking out anything from the store. So a lot of times people have a fear of like boxing themselves in, or they're like, I do all kinds of deep healing work. I'm scared to niche in. And so I don't teach niching in a way that's like you have to get rid of things. You actually still do all of your work in your offers. It's just that all of your work does not need to be in your window. And so that mindset shift is really helpful for people. So I think I teach niching in a way that doesn't feel restrictive and it actually feels freeing. And I also think that this analogy and the way that I teach it, it's very based in like genuine relationships, which is also, I have a background as a therapist. So I have a bachelor's and master's in mental health counseling. And so I draw from a lot of what I know on like what it actually takes to build trust and to listen to people. And like all of those relational skills that I spent 6 years in college studying, I've taken that into like the way that I teach messaging because I think it's the same thing with marketing and sales. And so a lot of what I teach in my messaging approach is relational based and not pushy, not convincing, not pressuring people, not cold DMing people. It's all very like attraction based. Um, so that's a little bit I could keep going, but maybe that gives you an idea.
No, you've given me so many ideas, and I have to ask you, Ashley, why are you bearing the lead here? Because when you said all of your work doesn't need to be in your window, that's it. That's it right there. That is so different from what everybody else is teaching. And if we're going to go for more broad and how to be known and how to make it feel doable to be known, these three things right here, relationship building, trust building, and it doesn't all need to be in your window. That's a phenomenal concept.
Okay, cool.
So if you looked at that and you said, okay, that's what I want to write my book on,
Mhm.
then that's kind of like layer one. Then layer two of what all so let me just finish up the concepts of the layers. So like of your content layers rather. So number one, first layer on the bottom, this is like the philosophy, the why, like your unique way. And then layer two is kind of like the system of it. That's like your process, your framework, step-by-step stuff. So if the known method is an acronym and it has steps to it, or if however you do the steps to it, that's layer two. Then layer three would be like edge cases or applying something to your unique situation or troubleshooting, things like that. So if you think about it, you can do a book as just layer one, and that's extremely broad. And that's a lot of like, that would be more mindset shifting. Then you
Right.
could do a book that's layer one and two, where you're including the known method and like giving them basically enough practical guidance that they could implement something themselves.
Mhm.
And then if they really want to master it, if they really want to get the full benefit, layer
Uh-huh.
three is where they go into your programs, whichever path you want them to take.
I love that. And this also brings up another question I've been thinking about in general. I feel like with my work, I could give away more than what I give away because even when I give like my frameworks, a lot of times people still want to hire me, even if they have everything to do it themselves, because they're like, I want your eyes on my content, right? Like, I want you to look at my sales pages, or I want to talk to you back and forth about the nuances of my specific message. And so, this is just more of like a general question I've been asking myself in marketing in general is like, would it be of benefit to my business for me to actually give more away? Like, even my courses, I'm like, should I just like slash all the prices of my courses and like, I don't know, like make the frameworks and the actual how to like a lot more accessible than it is right now, in a book and also just in my business in general, because I don't think it takes away from the high ticket sales. Because I think I just noticed that people, when they learn more about my framework and they actually try to implement it on their own, I think they still want to hire me for like my personalized help. So that's also something I've been thinking about.
Yeah. So for a lot of high ticket coaches, that is a a strategy that works really well, actually. And people get kind of afraid of like, am I going to cannibalize all of my content by giving away this much in a book? But you have to kind of step back and think about like, when somebody's reading a book, they're absorbing a lot of information all at once. And it is a very kind of static piece of information. So they're not even getting like the ability to go like watch a video on it, pause, reflect, do a little bit. They're kind of like opening a chapter, reading it, and then continuing on maybe to read it. Or even if they stop and pause, and come back to the book later, there's still less active force behind it. So we have to build that active force in, number one. That's a topic for another day though. But it also means that people can absorb everything you say and everything you teach, and they can know 100% of what you do and what you would do with them, but they're still going to want that active force behind it. And that could be accountability from you, that could be copy reviews, that could be like, just brainstorming, because the book is a one-way conversation. And most people learn best with a two-way conversation. So it's very common that the book will give them everything they need to know, and they'll start applying it and they'll be like, dang, this is really good. And then they'll realize, but I'm not sure if I'm doing it right.
Yeah.
And then that's what leads them over. I actually did that recently, and I'm planning to do it with my own stuff more this year. And I think right now, especially, building trust is super important. Books are one of the best ways to build trust, but also showing generosity is a good way to build trust. And if you think that, let's say I lose one high ticket client because they got everything they needed from my course, because if you think about conversion rates, it's not going to be like you lose all your clients, but I gained 500 new ones in the course. Where does it balance out for you? And that would be something I would say, let's think about where that balances out. And then you can decide like, how much do I want to give away?
Right. Yeah, I love this question and I do feel the pull to be more generous with this because I do think that it will lead to more sales and I do think yeah, I do think that with a book I wouldn't want to stay on the first level for sure. Like there is a lot of mindset shifting and belief shifting and things like that, but I do see myself giving away like parts of the framework, but I think also not wanting to overwhelm people because that's probably a risk too. You know, I'm not gonna do 3 pages straight of like, here's all these different frameworks and I don't want to overwhelm anybody, but I do think that I can give away like more than I am right now.
Hmm. What do you think? Do you have pieces in mind that you think you might want to give away? And do you think you want to give them away more in a course, or which pieces feel good for your book?
Yeah, so I'm just looking at my sales page right now for this course. Um, I'm like, gosh, maybe I feel like this is like my book here. My course is like my book, and the course obviously just goes a little bit deeper, and there's more specific examples. But so in this course, I teach that storefront theory, and then I teach what I call the magic four, which is like the four key things high ticket buyers need to read in your copy in order to trust you and pay you. And then I teach some different concepts like elevator pitch. I teach your Instagram bio. I teach how to define your core brand messages. I teach storytelling and I teach how to identify which stories your ideal client needs to hear. I also teach my market research process, which is really just my process of how I listen because I have this way that I teach market research, which this idea that the way you listen as a coach is very different than the way that you need to listen as a marketer. As a coach, you're good at listening for what your client isn't saying. As a marketer, you need to be good at hearing what your client is saying. And so I'm teaching them how to listen differently using the concepts that I know from therapy around, how to be a good listener, but also what I know from being a marketing expert, how to listen to what they are saying and then use that language verbatim so that it resonates. So that's kind of an overview of what I teach in the course.
So if I'm thinking about this as a book to align it towards the opportunities you wanted the book to align for, then I could see you narrowing this down to just just hearing them from the first time, The storefront as the main concept, Magic for how to do core brand messaging and how to listen differently. And it could just be three of those. And we might take out, I might take out core brand messaging and just do Magic for storefront and listen differently because we don't want to overwhelm people in the book. So we want to give them one promise and one result. So that's my initial thoughts. But then we need to also think backwards and reverse engineer from what is the one promise you want to make people with this book?
Yeah, that's such a good question. And I'm curious to know, like, if from what I've shared with you about it, like, what do you see? Do you see anything, like a way that you would sum up the promise?
Yeah, so, and this is going to be messy, but concept wise, I could see it going a couple ways. I like the idea of framing it around doing like a gentler way of marketing yourself by not pushing yourself into pillars, thinking yourself into a niche, allowing yourself to do what you love doing, but just having the one storefront. I like this concept of speaking to people in a way that resonates with them without like the bro marketing stuff. And
Mm.
so this, I mean, this needs to be wordsmithed, but that's kind of concepts that stick out to me. And just generally going back to how to be known in a way that doesn't feel like it overwhelms your whole life, which feels hard. Like if we think about social media for many people, especially I would imagine healers and artists and creatives, many of whom are more naturally introverted or inclined to not talk about stuff on social media all day, then marketing can be really difficult. And even for people who are extroverted, marketing can feel difficult because I don't know what to say, right? And if we can give them a way that releases them from the pressure, makes it feel more accessible, then they can have the permission from you to just start.
Yeah.
And if you give them that permission to just start, then they're going to really be grateful for that.
Yeah, I like that. And I think also this idea of like not blending in. That's something that I have on the sales page here is like stop blending in. And I also think about AI. Not that I'm like I don't know how much I want to write about AI in my book, but it's also something that you can't ignore, just like how much it's being used. And um, I think that one of the promises of this book too is that like you're not going to blend in, you're not going to sound the same. You're not going to blend in with all of the people that do similar work. Because I think that that's something that comes up for my clients too is like they see other people that are doing the work that they do a little bit differently maybe, but they see them making a lot of money and they're like, gosh, my work, like I have way more experience than that person and they're making so much money or and they're feeling maybe like a little bit of this frustration of like I'm blending in and I know that my work is really good, but when I try to talk about it, it just sounds like everybody else. How do I get people to really see the value in this really incredible method that I've created or this process that I have? Or how do I get people to really see that what I do is different? It's going to create lasting change, unlike some of maybe these other people who don't have the same experience as them. So this idea of becoming known for something so that you're not blending in.
Yeah. So tell me, in the people that you love working with the most, your favorite clients, what do you notice is the reason that they're blending in
That's a good question.
or getting stuck in general?
Yeah. Well, I think part of it is like just lack of knowledge around copywriting and just that like they're so ingrained to be a good coach and being a good coach often means that you're not a good marketer because it's two opposite skill sets. And so I think part of it is just like that gap in knowledge, which I hope to close in the book for them. But I think there's also definitely there's some key mindset things that come up all the time, like um, not wanting to seem like they're bragging, not wanting to talk too much about their results or their client results, or leaning too much into teaching and education because that's where they feel the most comfortable. A lot of times my clients are highly, highly educated. And so that's where they feel most comfortable, but that's not always best for marketing. And then sometimes I think there's a gap of even like creating their own method or naming their own method, those kinds of things, and just deciding like I get to become known for this. And also,
Okay.
part of what happens in my higher ticket programs is they don't even see how good they are at something. And so it's always that like reflection piece when they work with me of like me reflecting back, like even like what you just did for me, like that's really different. To me, it's not different because it's just like, I'm so close to it, but that's also something that comes up.
It comes up for everybody. I like where you said just deciding. And I feel like that can be a key aspect here because if we go back to the things you said that your favorite people, your favorite clients kind of all seem to get stuck on. You mentioned the things that you mentioned all kind of come back together to just making the decision to stand out. Like you talked about like not naming their method, not wanting to brag, and then too much teaching and education, which I think we all do. So
I think
what
waiting for
permission?
yeah, and it's like stop. It's this idea of like stop waiting for permission to just
Hmm.
decide that like you can become known for this. And then that also kind of goes back to the story I was telling you about the Red Sox and just like, not waiting for somebody else to choose you or, decide you're good enough, but like just choosing yourself.
What do you think about a concept for the book title, Wordsmithing to Come, but stop waiting for permission to be known?
Yeah, I like that.
What does it bring up for you?
Yeah, I feel like that really does capture something that they need to hear. Yeah, I really like it. I feel like maybe part of that would be like do you call it a tagline with a book?
Subtitle, but yeah, same
Subtitle.
thing.
Yeah, like maybe that would be part of the subtitle. I don't know. I don't know that I love it for the title itself, but I feel like maybe part of the subtitle. But
Yeah.
the message itself, yeah, I think that could be it.
And so the subtitle is typically some form of your promise. And if this is the promise, then what we're teaching in this book is stop waiting for permission to be known. And that's clearly going to have a big mindset chunk. And it's
Yeah.
also going to have a step-by-step chunk.
Right. I really like that. And I do feel like in a way that this could kind of like encompass both like my question from the beginning was like how do I go, do I want to go broad or do I want to be specific? And I think that this could like sort of encompass like I could see myself still telling that story and
Hmm.
telling different stories. It kind of feels like I guess it combines both of those ideas that I had in one that actually makes sense together.
Yeah. And you can repeat the story in multiple
Yeah.
books. Just tell it different ways so it's not a verbatim.
Right. Yeah, I really, really like that. Okay,
So
powerful.
I think it sounds great and I want to read it. So if we are telling people to stop waiting for permission to be known, what are we teaching them? What's the first thing they need to know?
The first thing that they need to know. Okay, so do you mean like are we thinking kind of more specifically like what are the chapters? Like what are the aside from what I've already shared about like the storefront window, do you mean more like mindset?
Let's say if you were to say, okay, I'm going to give somebody, or let's say you have a coaching call coming up and they have said on their intake form that they're afraid to be known. What's in your head of this is what I need to go through with them?
Yeah, I don't know that they're saying I'm afraid to be known. I think they're saying I want to be known and I'm
This
blending
is
it.
our perfect market research scenario here. So yeah, they may
Yeah.
not say it that
Okay.
way.
So the things that we would go over. Well, I think I would help them see like what like where they're not standing out. I would go through their content and help them see places where they're like diluting their message, where they're not being specific. So that's a huge part of what I do with people. I'm like the queen of specificity.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of mindset behind that where it's like I'll see that they said something that was vague and I'll be like, "Well, why were you not specific about what you meant there?" And usually there's a mindset piece there of, "Well, I wasn't specific because I was afraid if I was specific, it's being too vulnerable or it's gonna alienate certain people or like there's a lot of mindset pieces around that." So I think I would go through their content. I would help them see where they're not being vague or where they're not being specific, where they need to be more specific, help them understand the mindset of like why they've been doing that. I guess that would be one of the first pieces.
Okay. Then after you call them out, what's next?
Yeah, then,
Then think about you know their problem. You've pulled out all the places where they're not standing out, where they're diluting their message. And then you need to give them some concept to anchor it to so that they can make the switch between, oh, I do need to do this. And oh, that's why I need to do that. Oh, that's how I need to do it. So we introduce a concept
yeah. Okay, so one thing that comes up around this is owning their expertise and like owning the results that them or their clients have gotten. So that's a big thing too, is like I'll work with women who have literally like such incredible backgrounds. Like I'm just thinking about one client in particular. She had built like several multi-six-figure businesses. She had helped clients just have like the most insane like money results and win all these big awards. And then I went on her Instagram and she literally looked like a new coach. Like I couldn't tell that she had all of that background and knowledge. And so I guess that goes along with what I was saying. Like people maybe can't feel their credibility because they're holding back from being specific, but also from sharing their results and owning their expertise. And so there's some mindset stuff about, being willing to stand out, being willing to be seen as like somebody that's bragging. Um, and then I think, yeah, I don't know. Does that answer your question? Like, I guess teaching them how to, or encouraging them to identify, like, what are the results that you've created? And then, like, how can you get louder and prouder and more specific about those things? And if it's just like a mindset thing, then they need to, like, write everything down and just recognize that what they've achieved is really different and, like, think about their past self and, like, what they wanted and where their ideal client is at. And just that recognizing that their ideal client like would love to have what they have. And so just those reminders to like take a step back from like what feels normal to them now doesn't necessarily feel normal to their ideal client.
Okay, so after we go through this, then what is the first quick win, first small transformation that a client could get once they have this mindset shift? And this is going to be an action taking thing. What's the one action they could take that could give them that first leg up?
So I teach this framework in my content course that I call the Juicy Results Framework. And it's teaching them to write a hook that has a very like juicy result in it. So I teach them how to identify like what's the juicy result, what's the result that your ideal client really cares about, and then write a post about like what you achieved and how you achieved it, or it could be on a client. So I that could be a place for like a content framework.
Mm-hmm. Is that the where you want the book to go? Because you can have multiple first steps. So let's just
Right.
think it through.
I don't know that I want to teach the entire framework. It might just be like the first part of that, like go write a post that I think I could see myself having throughout the book like the action steps of like post ideas.
Yeah.
Like
Oh, I love the post ideas. Okay.
yeah, like go like here's a prompt for your next post. Go write a post about something that you've achieved related to the work that you do that you've never talked about before or that you haven't talked about in a while. And, make sure you include this and here's, like a hook framework that you could use, something like that to make it really actionable. That could be cool.
I love that. And I do encourage people to do action steps throughout the book because when we were at the beginning, when I was saying books are static and less action taking, we
Yeah.
need to get them to take action throughout and not just at the very end. Definitely, you want to have action steps. And that I like the idea you had there with the post.
Yeah.
Okay. So if they go and do one post with a juicy hook,
Hmm.
then what's that result going to look like for them? Like how we need to think about this as a transformation for them because it needs to, you're giving them all the information about the problem, what they're doing wrong or mistakes they're making. You're giving them a concept to flip that. And then we need to cement it by
Yeah.
giving them an action that's going to make them go, oh, she was right. I feel
Yeah.
it.
Right. Okay. So I'm even just thinking about from that specific juicy results framework. I can think of at least two clients specifically who have come back to me and said, I implemented that framework and I signed a client, or I had somebody reach out and inquire about one-on-one. So I have those like case studies, which could be really cool to share. So there's that, like I think just the results of like people reaching out and hiring you. Um, and yeah, I had one person reach out once and they were like, I've been waiting for this person to get off the fence to hire me. And like they've been, in my orbit thinking about hiring me for a long time. they told me that they read that post and that was like the thing that really pushed them over the edge. So I think the result of like getting fence sitters to finally commit because they see what's possible because you were so specific about the result and you really like stood in your authority and they could feel your credibility and that built a lot of trust. Because of that, that led to them feeling ready and safe enough to reach out and hire you.
I love it. And so this is one small thing where if they actually go and do it as you ask them to do it and they don't just phone it in, they could get a really big result from it.
Yeah.
And if they get one result, then they could get more results.
Yeah.
And it is a very small step, which people love, especially for a book. So then, after they've gotten this one small result, let's get them excited for what else they could have. And let's introduce something that takes it to another level. What does that bring up for you?
I'm not sure.
So, if you had a favorite client and she went and did one juicy hook post, then she gets on her next call with you. She's screaming, she's so excited, and she's like, "What's next? How do I make this exponentially more powerful? Like, what's the next low-hanging fruit or a quick win? Or what's the next thing I need to learn or the next mindset shift I need to make?" It could go in any of those directions.
Right. Well, I think it's always helpful when I point out things that they're like ways that they're speaking to clients who aren't ready or who aren't motivated or who need convincing. So I have a lot of examples of like teaching on like pointing out certain things that they're doing or not doing that's causing them to not get the clients or not get people reaching out. So I feel like there could be something in there. But I don't know. I'm struggling to think. I mean, I know I have a million examples, but I don't know. I'm not really sure. I'm also struggling to see like what all the things that I shared with you earlier about the storefront theory, the magic four, like all of, I guess it feels like I have my content course, which is that prompt that I just pulled from in that framework. But then I have this known course, and now I'm feeling sort of like, I guess I'm lacking like the big picture. Like, is this book about this course? It's kind of both. I guess it's kind of everything. I don't know. I feel like I'm losing my focus.
Yeah, so we've definitely taken a different path, and I wasn't going to bring
Yeah.
you back because you were vibing on it, but we can pull it back. So if we go back to what kind of felt right to you at the beginning, does
Yeah.
it still feel right that that's what you want to bring the book to?
I think that, yeah, I think a lot of this known stuff is foundational stuff that does need to be in the book. I don't know.
So let's think about how this gets integrated into the book, and maybe it means we change some things we already put in it, or maybe it means that we weave some things in it.
Yeah. Do you mind recapping like kind of the flow that we have so far?
Yeah, so what I've put down is we're starting out with where are you not standing out in your content, where are you diluting your message, specifics. Um, Vagueness is kind of a mindset issue and then why they're doing it. Then owning your expertise and your results. Then if they feel like they can't own it, some mindset over that with how to feel your own credibility. And then you went into the juicy results hook.
Okay, yeah. I feel like the magic for like the four things high ticket buyers need to read. I think that that does need to go more towards the front just because that and this yes, like the messaging storefront theory that really gives context and then the four things high ticket buyers, I think that needs to be explained because also from there, then I can also help them see how they haven't been hitting on those four things,
Mhm.
which one of them is this piece about credibility and authority. And then it makes sense to talk about like you haven't been sharing your wins and encouraging them to do that. So I think that that's where that fits in. Did that
Okay,
make
so yes. So first we kind of open with the concept of the storefront, and that helps explain where they're not standing out. Is that right?
yeah, exactly. Yep.
Yeah. And then you share the magic four, and that gives them something specific to look for.
Yeah.
Then you're telling them to own their expertise and results.
Yeah.
Explain the known method to me really quickly, if you can. Quickly, I mean, I know you can explain it.
Um, basically that's what like that's what this is. It's not an acronym. It's just like it's just the what do I have? 6 modules here, or
Mm.
seven modules, which is like the storefront theory, the magic four, the elevator pitch, Instagram bio, defining your core brand messages, storytelling, and then this like listening and market research
Oh,
module.
perfect. Okay. So
So
then go ahead.
yeah, sorry. So it's basically like the four, maybe I should really quickly just recap that what is the magic four? The magic four is like they need to know that you understand their main desires, they need to know that you understand their main struggle, they need to know that you have a method or approach to get them there that they resonate with, and then they need to know that you are credible and that you've been through that transformation or you've helped other people. So it's like
Oh,
those four
perfect.
things they need to identify, and usually they are like really lacking in at least one of these. And so I think also throughout the book, it's helping them in all of these modules. It's like when we talk about the elevator pitch, we're like coming back to these four, making sure that all four of those are clear and are in what you're when you describe what you do. And then the same with the Instagram bio, same with all of this. When you tell a story and a caption, it's like just making sure that they're really anchored and clear on what those four things are. So I think that's something that we just like keep circling back to.
Okay. I love this. Is perfect. Okay. So if I'm just initially thinking about it, then I see how each of these four pieces kind of corresponds to a different element that you kind of already talked about for the flow of the book. So understanding the main desires and main struggles, then that can be woven into where you're not standing out and you're diluting your message or you're not showing that you understand their desires and struggles.
Right. So it's like, yeah, kind of like an overview of the four and then maybe
Yep,
go into each one.
exactly. And so then I would initially put this together as the book opens with we're explaining you need to stop waiting to be for permission to be known. I have something called the known method. I'm going to go through it with you in this book. And one, two, three, four. This one, two, three, four. Wait, hold on. There's multiple concepts in the known method, but we're going to focus on, the magic four, which are one, two, three, four. Um, and then you're going to tell these stories and teach these concepts throughout the book, aligning them to one of the four and using your example, like the storefront and things like that. So we would just shift the beginning of the book. Making sense?
Yes. Yep.
It's definitely a brainstorming thing when you put a book together. It's both a science and an art. And so people will sometimes be like, let me just write and see what comes up. And then you write a lot of stuff, a lot of content. But it needs to come back to what's your reader actually going to need to hear from you? What's your favorite person going to need to hear from you so that they get the chance to be your favorite client?
Right.
And so if you're always stopping and stepping back to think, what does my favorite future client need to hear from me? And what's the small transformation I need to give them so that they can feel ready to pay me more, to work with me more, to buy my digital course, to let me speak at their retreat? Then you're going to connect with them and it's going to be more emotionally resonant for them because people they need that emotional resonance, not just learning. As
Right.
you mentioned, people like to teach and educate in their content, and that's not what people need to convert.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Can I ask when you're kind of thinking about like the chapters, are you following like a certain, it kind of sounded like you're like, okay, we need like the concept and then we need the action and then we need like, is there like specific things that like in order to that?
Yeah. So I have kind of two frameworks that we work with. So the overarching framework is the heroine's journey, and that is designed to take, that's the design to create the emotional resonance. And so when we're putting that together, there's specific little pieces we're looking for to happen in order so that the train isn't broken, so that they can take the whole journey without like getting detoured. And then that's to create the emotional resonance that does the relationship building. And then we also have to teach them. And then so we use purpose points for that, and that's 9 specific points in the book where we are giving them a specific thing that happened, or teaching them a specific thing in a specific way when they most need to hear it. And that's based on how humans naturally kind of like learn and retain information. And it would take me 3 hours to explain it
Yeah.
right now. But yeah, I do keep that in mind as I'm planning out like what goes where.
Right. Love that.
And you can see also that writing a book, as I said, is both a science and an art. Different things can be shifted to fit different aspects of what a reader needs to read right now. And all you really need to do is think about what do they need to hear from me at this specific moment, and then you
Mhm.
can shift different things to fit there. So, but typically, things like mindset, that's the first thing that people need to hear, or one of the first things people hear. So, does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Okay. So, what's coming up for you right now? What questions are you having? What hesitations are you having about the concept, and what do we need to untangle?
No, I think it's all like feeling really good right now so far. Yeah. I
Okay.
don't know. I think it's just like gotta just keep workshopping it. But I
Yeah.
think like a really good start.
Yeah. So, what feels like we need to workshop still?
Well, I feel like that's not, I don't think we're done, right? Like with the,
No, no, we're not done.
okay. Like I don't
But
think,
I don't want to talk over you and be like, let's go this
yeah.
direction.
Yeah. I think, can you remind me what we have so far again?
Yeah, so I'm showing. And also keep in mind that you know your business, you know your frameworks and methods better than I
Yeah.
do. And if I'm saying something in the wrong order, then call that out.
Yeah.
I'm not, or if you just don't like something, I'm not gonna be offended if you tell me you hate it.
Yeah.
So what I'm having right, or what I have written down right now is that introducing the known method, giving a teensy overview of it, a CTA. Then we're going to go deep on the magic four, and those are 1, 2, 3, 4. Then we go into where are you not standing out? Where are you diluting your message? How are you being vague? That's a mindset issue. Here's why you're doing it. You need to own your expertise and your results. Here's why you're probably not owning it right now. Here's how to change that. Here's one thing you can do today, the juicy results hook, and then and that's where we've left off so far.
Yeah. Okay. I really like all of that so far. Um, so um, there's definitely like some specific pieces around how I teach elevator pitch and like Instagram bio. I don't feel like that's necessarily like a whole chapter, but probably more just like at the end, like here's like an action step kind of thing. Um, and I have some great examples of like do this, not this, here's why. So I feel like somehow those could be included. But I think so. One of the next things I teach in the course is like, okay, yeah, defining your core brand messages or like the message that you want to be known for right now and encouraging them to take a stance on something. And so one thing that they might be doing that's causing them to blend in is only taking they're only sharing really safe messages. So they might be sharing something like self-care is essential for to prevent burnout. Something that's kind of just like, okay, we've heard that a million times. Your ideal client isn't necessarily, it's not like a unique insight. And so something that I teach with messaging is it needs to be it needs to be something that not everybody else is saying. And so there's some mindset pieces there around saying something different, being willing to say something different. And also the mindset piece of like the people that are going to pay you a lot of money, they're not basic beginner, newbie, never heard of self-care, never heard of journaling. Like they're not, they're further along. And so there's also this mindset shift around thinking about your this higher level buyer who's going to pay you more money, which is ultimately, I think, one of their core desires here. Thinking about what they already have in place. So they already have done self-care before. They already have, have probably done years of therapy already. They already have, they're coming to you already with this knowledge. And so helping them see where they've been speaking too much to like an early stage, like new person. Um, and they're attracting that person because the insights that they're giving are not very insightful. The message that they're sharing is very basic. It's just it's not like an aha moment. So I think something I also do and teach is like how do we think about like the insights or the message that is going to give them that like, oh, I've never heard of it quite like that. Um, and so there's something there, I guess, around how do we not speak to brand new people by sharing messages that are bolder, are a little bit different. Like there's this thought leadership piece. How do we tap into like something that's a little bit more unique? Maybe it's a little bit more polarizing. Like, what are you actually here to say? And how getting clear on that is going to attract a higher level client.
Okay. I love how much our methods align.
Mhm.
So I would ask you in your book to have a hot take. So you're saying we're teaching people this. So what is yours?
Yeah. So my hot take around like what I just specifically shared or like more
How would you frame it?
um is that like boring messaging doesn't lead to high ticket buyers.
Frame it more unsafe.
Um, I don't know, like, it's a good question. All I can think of is like you're what you're sharing is just so boring, it's so basic, it's just not, I don't know, it's not interesting. But I feel like the
Let
way I said that wasn't interesting.
so let's think back to the concept. Stop waiting for permission to be known.
Yeah.
What is everybody else saying about it? That you're saying if you were starting an argument about
Yeah.
it, what would you say? How would you say it?
Maybe oh, maybe like there's something there about like when they're with their clients they're getting like fired up and passionate and they're like saying these really insightful things, but then when they write content, they're kind of just saying like the same thing everybody else is saying. So there might be something like, like right from that like fired up, passionate, like the fiery place inside of you like needs to come online.
So more like you need to be saying to your audience what you say to your clients.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so let's revisit and let's adapt. So hold on, I'm just taking a note.
Yeah, and that actually is like a part of the process too, is I have them analyze client conversations and like look at like what are the things that you said to your client that they were like, "Oh my gosh, I never heard of it like that." Or like when they give their clients big insights, it's like we need to take those things and actually bring them into your content. It's like
Okay,
your best messaging is like actually within your client sessions, but
keep
you're not.
talking.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
you're not looking at that or you're not it's like there's like a disjointed where it's like almost two different people. Like they're this incredible coach and in their sessions they're on fire, they're just like spitting all this gold and their clients are having big breakthroughs, but then when they go to write content, it kind of just falls flat. And then they're just like you need to practice self-care or don't be afraid to rest. It's like just really basic things like that.
So I'm looking through all our notes. I
Yeah.
have the worst handwriting, so sometimes it takes me a minute to read it. I feel like my handwriting's gotten worse. Like it was cute when I was in like junior high, and it's just not cute anymore.
Oh, there's something else coming through that
Oh yeah, say it.
another thing that is a big theme of my work is um, almost this like savior complex where, especially because they're often coming from a therapy background where they have like a big heart, want to help a lot of people. So that's part of the mindset around why they're speaking to like beginners in their content
Okay.
and messaging is because they're almost afraid to get specific because they don't want to leave people out. And it's like definitely goes to this deeper mindset issue of like wanting to save everybody versus speaking to the higher level person that doesn't need to be saved.
Would you say that's one of the core reasons that they can't get specific and they're deleting their message?
Yeah.
And what are the other core reasons?
But yeah, I think some of it like goes back to childhood. Like I have my own stories that I don't know how much, I want to bring those into the book, but I definitely have like stories of being like the savior child to the parent who like struggled with mental health and I, took on the role of like feeling like they needed my saving. And so I like took on the role of somebody being responsible for somebody else's well-being. And then when I first became a coach, I attracted a lot of clients who struggled with mental health, who really needed a therapist, not a coach, and who were like in a bad place and who weren't necessarily the right fit for my work. And so that's also something that my clients present with a lot is like I'm attracting people who like have money objections or who aren't motivated to show up or they're like in a deep depression and they need to really see a therapist. So they're attracting clients who aren't quite aligned because they have this like deep rooted, like, I need to save everybody, and that like savior energy is coming through their content.
Do you see that with most of your favorite clients?
I see that with, yeah, I think there's like a line there because I do think that it's like it's not like they're necessarily like every single person coming to them is like that, but it might be like one or two, and they're just like it's kind of like a little energy leak that they're aware of. So I don't want to speak necessarily the person that's like everybody you attract is like totally the wrong fit because it's not really that, but it's more a lot of this stuff is like more subtle.
Yeah, and that's something that you could kind of weave in without devoting like a whole chapter to it. Just like
Yeah,
keep an eye out for this.
right.
So,
I like that.
okay. All right. So if you're if we're looking at the book as, what's the big difference we're saying here? You're telling people to stop waiting for permission to be known. You're telling them that what you say to your clients is what you should be saying to your audience, but you're not doing it. And then you're making them a promise. What's the promise you're making them regarding that? Like in this book, I say it like this in your head. In this book, I promise I'm going to teach you or show you or
Um, I think I'm going to show you like where your best content ideas are that are going to speak to this higher level buyer. And maybe that kind of all goes along with like the market research too. Like this idea that like your message isn't something that you're just gonna like pull out of your ass. It's actually like your best messaging and content ideas are found within market research, learning how to listen differently, and also just learning how to take the mind-blowing things that you say in sessions and like translate them into your content. So
yeah.
it's
So if I
like, yeah, it's right under your nose. You just need to know how to pull out those pieces and put them, you need these like frameworks and structures to know how to frame them, but they're right there. Like, I want it to feel accessible. Like, oh, I've been trying to rack my brain, like trying to come up with how do I talk about this, and I don't know. And I want them to just feel like, oh, it's been here all along. Like I actually know I have these like methods now. I know where to pull the ideas from, where to pull the language, and I have these structures to put them in. Like, oh, it's not hard or mysterious anymore.
okay, we've answered one of the questions you had at the beginning just now.
Oh, we did?
So, yeah, so or maybe it was my question, but we just answered a question that it's right under your nose. So I asked you, and I didn't write it down, so I don't know how I asked it or how you asked it. I asked one of us asked, I think it was me, um, what makes it feel accessible to them, and what makes it feel like something they could do from a book? And the answer is that it's not some huge like undertaking you need to do. It's the answer is in the stuff you already say. Just
Yeah.
not the content you think you're saying. It's the stuff that you're saying to your clients, not the stuff you're saying out loud to the whole world at large.
Yeah.
So you're
Yeah.
looking in the wrong place.
Right. Yeah. And then
Okay.
they're like, oh, I have like all kinds of data I could pull from. I could go look at intake forms. I could go look at past conversations. I could go look at call recordings I've had. And then they're like, oh, yeah, like I can just think back. And they realize there's so many great places for content and messaging that they just weren't even really looking at. And then also, I think part of the work I do is it's like training their brain to just automatically notice these things. So it's like,
Okay.
rather than I think it's a practice, like it happens over time. But over time, it's like we're changing the neural pathways so that they're thinking like a coach or a marketer. I mean, so that they're thinking like a marketer and not thinking like a coach. And like when you think like a marketer, you're just like paying attention to those things as you go. You're noticing the things your clients are saying, and the content ideas are just like coming up all the time. So it's like training them to just like think this way as their default. I guess that's one of
Okay.
the results of this.
Okay. I really want to read this book.
Yeah.
So I'm excited for it. Okay. So then what do marketers notice?
Marketers notice what their clients are. I guess marketers notice the magic four all the time. They're always thinking about those four things, noticing those four things. They know it's like for me, when I hear my clients say, I'm really struggling with, it's like a little antenna goes up in my brain, and I'm like, that's one of the magic four. Just gonna like take that language and put it in the folder in my brain so that I can like pull it out again to create a post on that. So it's
Okay. 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 Perfect. So then here we go. So we're teaching them to stop waiting for permission to know. I'm going to show you where your best content is for your best buyers. You said it a little bit differently, but that's what I wrote down. Then our hot take is what you say to your clients is what you should be saying to your audience. And your issue is that you have been not standing out because you're diluting your message. You're not using specifics. You're being vague. Maybe you don't even know why you're doing it, but you need to own your expertise and your results. And the way you do that is with the magic four. So desires, struggles, your method, your credibility. Your best buyers need to see all of these in order to feel safe buying with you. But how do you find that? Like, how do you know what their desires, their struggles, their method, their credibility is? And everybody else is going to tell you, you need to go survey your audience. You need to go do more market research. You need to go like dig through Reddit forums and Facebook groups and all the other like super boring stuff that nobody has time to do. And that's not true. The truth is, it's all right under your nose. Here are the places to look for it. Here, and I'm going to train your brain to automatically notice these things like marketers notice them so that you can help your people.
yeah. Yeah, I love it.
And if you think about, I mean, that's your introduction right there, basically. Just
Yeah.
take the call recording and flesh it out. Um, and then basically what we're doing next is you've got the magic four, you've introduced them, but we need to show them and help them fully integrate each of them. So, and then you need to give them the one quick win after they've integrated them. So we need to talk about their desires, struggles, methods, credibility. Ideally, we see these as separate chapters. Do you feel like they need to be together?
No, I think an overview so that they know like what are the four, but then probably its own chapter for each one.
Yes. So then you would do the overview right at the beginning and then each chapter. So then let's think about what connects. So the stuff we've already talked about, what is connecting with desires, like their ultimate desires. First, what comes up for you? But
Yeah.
then after the market research, what do we do with it?
Turn it into content.
And what does content mean to you? Social media, email, anything
Yeah.
specific?
So personally, For me, it's Instagram, Facebook, email, Instagram stories. But it could apply probably anywhere.
Right. And you can think of it's almost like the end of your book, the last chapter typically. It's like if you're writing a fantasy novel, like a romance fantasy, and it's a series, and throughout the whole first book, they're like, will they, won't they kiss? And then at the end, they kiss, but then a whole new problem opens up. So you're gonna get them to the kiss. Maybe this isn't the best metaphor, but you're gonna get them there, and then you're gonna show them like a whole new world sort of thing. And then that opens up for them. They've taken that one magic carpet ride. But
Yeah,
there's so much possibility beyond this.
cool. I like that.
So I'm seeing that we've got like kind of a structure so far, but we're missing two elements, what you talk about under method and what you talk about under credibility.
Yeah. So, okay. So with method, something that I teach that people need to know what to expect. Otherwise, they may not feel safe hiring you. And they may not. Okay, so there's something I could teach around like unhappy clients, where it's like if
Oh,
somebody signs up and works with you, but then they like drop off or they're unhappy or they want a refund. Sometimes that comes back to the way that you do it isn't how they thought it was going to be done, or they realize like, oh, I don't actually, this woman is doing breath work with me. I didn't even know that was part of it. I didn't want to do breath work. So it's like the reason that you might get unhappy clients or the way to prevent unhappy clients is to be clear about your process so that they know that's how I want to do it. I really resonate with that approach. And also so that they feel clear on like, oh, I haven't tried it that way before, or I've tried it that way before, but not quite like that. And so you want your process you want it to be clear how it's different and clear on what they can expect, but also you don't need to lead with it. And so that's where it's like I teach them that the desires and struggles are the things that you lead with in your hooks. It's like the names of your programs. That's like what's in your storefront window. And we talk about your method. We teach people about the process. I guess I teach this too when I teach pitching. Like if you're going to pitch on your Instagram stories or like write a call to action in a post. Like we do want to have a snippet there about like what you're actually taking them through, what the process looks like. So, but we don't need the whole pitch to be about that. So teaching them to like actually get clear on what is their process, and like naming it if they want to, or just having kind of like an outline. And the way that we do that too is we look at who have been your best clients that have gotten results, and we like reverse engineer and realize, oh, there's actually some patterns. Every client who's gotten a great result, you've taken them through this exercise or this thing. And so from there they start to craft like what is their process, and then put words to it so that also so that when they're explaining their process, it always ties back to the result that their client wants.
yeah. So that's turning, like, that's keying right back into turning it into content because we want to make sure we have the process snippets in there so that we're turning off the people who wouldn't be happy with the method and
Yeah.
turning on the people who would be the best clients. So,
Yeah.
okay, I'm seeing that chapter in my head now. Okay, sounds good. Then what about credibility? Oh,
So,
I think, okay, you talk to me.
so with the credibility, this is like answering the question, why should I trust you? And the two main ways that I teach this is they should trust you because you've personally been through that transformation. And
Mhm.
so pulling from your own stories, making sure that you're talking about and just infusing into your content or your pitches, like when I was in this place, this is how I felt, and now I'm here, and making sure that you're talking about that transformation, telling those stories so that people feel that safety and trust of she's been there, she gets it. I know that she can help me because I see that she's been there too. And then the other way is client results. And so making sure that you're sharing stories about the transformations of your clients and that you're hitting on all four of those magic four pieces, talking about where they were and then where they went and what you did in the middle. Um, and also, it's like if you're just starting and don't have clients, it's okay to just lean on your story, but both is ideal.
This is my worst thing. I always forget to talk
Yeah,
about.
it's so easy to forget. I forget it too.
Okay. And then that leans back into content too. Okay, so this makes sense to teach these four things.
I think the storytelling, I know I said storytelling in there
You
some.
did.
I think storytelling makes sense to teach after. Oh, well, maybe not. As long as that module about the credit or not module, that chapter about the credibility is before the storytelling chapter, I think it makes sense so that they understand why storytelling matters. Because storytelling is the best way to build credibility with your story or your client's story.
Okay, yep. And then you teach the content, how to turn it into content, juicy hook,
Yeah.
DM cells, things like that. And I don't know that, like, let's specifically say, I'm going to teach you how to do DM cells. I'm going to teach you how to do relationship building sales
Yeah.
and give a variety of concepts because you don't want them to go, oh, I hate DM.
Right.
But they might love sales calls. They might love networking. They might, yeah, they might love video messaging.
Yeah. Yep. And I have a private podcast that's all about like relationship first sales, and like relationship first audience growth. And so I talk about how I don't have a big audience, but the way that I've signed these high ticket clients is from like becoming known for something specific. And then this like relationship first audience growth method. And so I talk about in some of my programs how a lot of my clients have come from like people I've just met at like networking events and retreats. And just taking this approach where it's like just genuinely connecting with people, not with like an intention to sell them. But I have so many examples of that, and how this idea that you don't need to go viral, you don't need to be like on TikTok or creating these reels, you don't need to be trying to grow this huge audience. In fact, when I first became a coach, I was teaching mindset and self-love and boundaries and things like that. And I grew my email list to 10,000 people because I thought having a huge audience was the key to becoming known. And now I know I have a much smaller audience with what I do now, and I'm more well known and I'm more well paid. And so this idea that it's not about um, needing tons and tons of people, it's just about building like genuine relationships and being well known with the right people.
Yeah. I remember when we first met in person, you said that you did, I think you like did your launch just through stories, Instagram stories. And I was like, that's so cool.
Yeah, I make most of my sales just through stories.
That's so cool. It's still
I
cool.
I don't have many viewers either.
That's still really cool. And that could be a book in itself, even, or a portion of this book if you wanted to talk about how to turn it into stories or turn it into content. And you talk about DM cells and then story cells.
Yeah, and I have a whole like Instagram story course too.
So, and sorry. So I know you have a course about being known and you have another course now about Instagram stories cells. I don't want your book to be your course specifically, but it's okay for your book to be a portion of your course, even a significant portion of your course, as long as you're kind of like taking some things in a different direction or a new direction too. Like you're using new examples, you're using new case studies, you're explaining more in certain areas, and then some areas we can gloss over, like maybe, for example, you don't need to talk about the elevator pitch in this book, or maybe, for example, you don't talk about choosing which stories or the Instagram bio as
Yeah,
examples, whereas you would teach those more in depth in the course. And then in the book you teach, perhaps you could talk, you just go more in depth into the mindset and the why behind everything. That allows you to not cannibalize either course and also allows you to be known for this one thing.
right. Like going more into the why in the book and like the how, some of the how in the book, but most of the how in the courses. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Well, yeah. So, well, yes, because if you go back to the layers of like what you teach, like the philosophy is a big portion of what needs to go in the book. And when somebody's buying a course or hiring a coach, um, she's seen herself in the mirror. When somebody's buying a book, when somebody's buying a course or a one-on-one coaching or even group coaching, mastermind, that sort of thing, they don't want to spend the first 2, 3 weeks or first 2, 3 modules on the why. They want to
Yeah,
get into, let me put this in action right now. But when people buy a book, they want to get a more in-depth understanding. They want to really know it.
right.
And so that foundation is allowed to take up more space and should take up more space.
That makes
And
sense.
then you can layer in layer two, like the systems, but you don't have to layer in all the systems. We want to pick like one, two if they're small, and
Yeah.
then teach those really thoroughly
Yeah. I love
with
it.
even more examples than you might use in the course.
Yeah.
And then we still have, you know, a good portion of the second layer, the systems that we could teach in a course or with clients. And we still have all of that mastery level stuff that we could teach with clients or buyers.
Yeah. I love it. Do you think that we have like, is this like enough? Or do you think that there's things missing?
I think you have a book here.
Yeah.
So here's my notes and my little flow chart of what I'm seeing. So, a book about the known method, stop waiting for permission to be known. You're promising that you're going to show where your best content is for your best buyers. And then what you say to your clients is what you should be or should be saying to your audience. Then we're going to go into the magic four. My flow chart may be out of order here because those all kind of added together. Then we're going to go in the magic four, desire, struggles, method, credibility. You need to talk about the market research. That can be intakes, call recordings. You're going to train their brain to automatically notice these things because that's what marketers do. Marketers notice the magic four. And all of these things are right under your nose. You don't have to do a big, huge, like $1 million market research study. It's all things you already have. And oh, I forgot at the beginning, we're going to introduce that all of this is because I want you to be known for your expertise. You know, I believe in your expertise. I think that more people should know about it, and I'm going to show you how to get known for it because you deserve to be making your business deserves to be successful in whatever way that means to you. For many of my clients, that's a 6-figure year. So then we go back to the chapters, the market research, turning that into content. Actually, the market research chapter to get the desires and struggles. Then we're going to go into method and credibility, knowing what to expect so you avoid unhappy clients and get your best clients. And then for credibility, why should I trust you? Because you've personally done it. They want to feel safe. So they need to see that or client results. That involves storytelling. We're going to use process snippets from the method and we're going to turn it all into content, but not just any content. I'm going to teach you how to do relationship sales like DM sales, maybe story sales. I'm going to teach you the juicy results hook. And all of this, I want you to implement it because I want you to have a 6-figure year. I want you to be known for something specific with relationship sales. Oh, wait, no, that was you. And that's how I did it, being known for something specific and relationship building sales. Is that hitting for you?
Yeah. I love it. I think it's really good.
It gives you a nice full circle too, because if you start with, I'm going to show you where your best content is for your buyers. Do we answer that? Do we deliver that promise? And yes, you deliver it multiple times in a very deep way if you go into like the way you do market research different. The one thing we didn't talk about that we talked about earlier that I really liked is not using content pillars.
Hmm.
And that might be something that you kind of table and see as we're actually outlining it, does it fit?
Yeah, maybe I'll just say something else really quick about that I teach to not use content pillars, but to this is where it goes into, did you have something written there about the message? Like you don't have a boring, like basic message. Uh,
Yeah,
that was, yeah. So it's like, instead, we want to get clear on like, what's the thing you're here to say? That's like more bold. And then how do we I teach them in the content frameworks, like, let's take that message and then like give stories and examples that support that message and be repetitive about it. So that kind of like a persuasive essay, not that we're convincing people, but so that people are continuously seeing and understanding more about how, you're giving them time to like align with the message and realize that they resonate. So yeah, I have a way that like once we get clear on the message, here's how we actually bring it into your content.
with the storytelling.
Yeah, with the storytelling.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah.
I like it. And I think it's a full circle. It delivers the promise and delivers the inspiration, delivers the action taking.
Yeah.
Um, just looking at it to see if anything else jumps out to me. And then I think ending it on that 6-figure year is strong too, because that's what can happen once you become known. And it's much harder to. to really hit like really good months if you're not known for something, if you're not really speaking to your people. It's like fighting versus allowing it to flow to you.
Yeah. Yep.
How's it feeling for you? Do you feel like, oh, I'm ready, or I'm really
Yeah.
excited about this?
Yeah, I do feel excited about it. Yeah. Cool. Yeah, I feel really good about it. I feel like this is a great outline, and I'm excited about it.
Yay.
Well, thank you so much. This is so helpful, and I'm really excited